Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HPCritical. It's a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I'm Jarrell, and I am joined by Christy.
Pika pika.
And Brandon.
Hello, it is almost Halloween. I'm holding a pumpkin bomb like Hobgoblin. Yeah.
And Gabe.
Remember, you are Knuff.
And that's it. Just us. That's it. There's no special guests. It's just us today. So we got quite a few things to talk about. How's everybody been? Just generally, good, bad, in between.
Good.
Like to
I've been
hear
good.
it.
I'm here. I'm good.
All right. Well, being here is better than being alone. Because what's better than talking to your favorite friends about video games? Am I right?
You always right, Jarrell.
Wait, what?
$1 million won't buy you friends. What? Well, not real friends anyway.
Someone can definitely buy me.
Me
as a
and
friend.
Terrell would become best friends if I had $1 million a day.
Oh boy, I would be. Yeah. So let's just talk about news then. Speaking of, new games that have come out. So, well, kind of. Speaking of $1 million and new games that have come out, let's talk about Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Recently, Insomniac said that they're going to fix the flag in Miles Morales' apartment because they accidentally put the Cuban flag over the game in multiple places instead of the Puerto Rican flag because, the guy is not Cuban, he's Puerto Rican. And so my quick question for you guys about this is, what are your reactions to this story? First of all, the fact that they put the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag. What does it mean to make what could have been an innocent mistake on something that is considerably, possibly a sensitive topic?
Honestly, it's a pretty silly mistake because Miles' apartment is in Miles Morales, and they got it right there. Like, the Puerto Rican flag is in his house. So the fact that they got it wrong for 2 is like, how did that happen exactly?
That's the question.
Like they responded quick, and it's definitely like an innocent mistake. But I'm just like, I don't know how this happens. Like it's like if they never did it once, like I guess it's an easy mistake because the Cuban flag and Puerto Rican flag are very similar. We're very similar. But like again, they've done it. Like I don't understand.
But like how did they miss it during the QA?
I don't feel
Like how?
I'm just confused. That's honestly my reaction is like, how does this happen? Just like you have to chuckle a little bit. It's like, how'd you mess this up, man?
Some people are very upset by this. Just say, and
as a Puerto Rican.
Oh, go ahead.
As a Puerto Rican, I can't even talk shit because I've confused our flags a million times
Aren't
before.
You? I really thought you were Dominican.
I'm Puerto Rican Dominican. Yes.
Okay, there
I
it
am
is.
split.
I didn't know you were Puerto Rican. I thought you were just Dominican. I thought you were Dominican and black. I didn't know you were Puerto Rican as well. Look at you, just a little ethnicity everywhere. Yeah, Gabe said he confuses it himself, and he's Puerto Rican, so it's okay. Let me not. I don't do that. I don't prescribe to that notion of thinking.
To be fair though, and like I know I'm gonna catch flack for this, but most Puerto Ricans are probably just like, oh, okay, are they gonna fix it? Okay, because again, it's not something that's done intentionally. Like they weren't like, let's fuck around with the Puerto Rican community and make it a Cuban flag, because that has to be one of the that's how you lose faith in your company if you do something like that on purpose.
Well, if you got it right the first time, there's only one way you could get it wrong the second time.
Is it the same? Is it the same?
Purpose.
No? Oh, this is in the way.
No, well, there's another way. It could
Just kidding.
Poor intern Kun could have just hit the color shader incorrectly.
The funniest thing I saw about this was a tweet that said, I feel so bad for... I'm paraphrasing it, but it was like, I feel so bad for the colorblind intern who made this mistake. Which, like...
that suck.
Like,
that would suck.
Like, to be fair, if you switch the colors around, you pretty much got it right. So, like, I thought that was funny.
That's what I'm saying. Like, instead of dragging and dropping, the intern simply did a shader by accident.
They did color inversion by accident, and they're like,
yeah, exactly.
It's already out there, guys. There's nothing we can do about it. Nobody will notice. And then the first thing you notice is, hey, that's Not quite a Puerto
that
Rican
flag's
flag.
a little different.
What were you gonna say, Gabe? I'm sorry I cut you off.
I was gonna say this could be one of the talking points if in a couple of months it somehow leaks that the team was pushed too hard. You know, usually that happens after a game comes out. It's like, oh, there was this much crunch happening.
Always possible too.
Damn, that moment when you have to make sure you press record.
That moment where you have to make sure the colors are right.
But like, there's so many. Whatever. So to continue on the vein of Spider-Man 2, this article from IGN says Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the fastest-selling PlayStation Studios game by Wesley Vinpool. It says Marvel Spider-Man 2 has enjoyed huge sales success, becoming the fastest-selling PlayStation Studios game over a single-day period. Insomniac's PlayStation 5 exclusive sold through more than 2.5 million copies in 24 hours, Sony has revealed. That figure includes pre-order sales of individual units and units bundled with PS5. What? Was there like a PS5 bundle for Spider-Man 2 that I didn't know about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man PS5 that has a casing
Oh,
that
it came with the game too.
It preloaded, not
okay,
preloaded.
okay.
You were able to. You had. It was paid. Okay, the bundle came with the game. It wasn't preloaded. My bad. It wasn't preloaded. But you could get it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But I do understand the confusion though
because
because lately they've been releasing these like special edition bundles but don't give you the game. Like for example, you could buy that Mario OLED that's in stores right now, but it doesn't come with Mario Wonder. You gotta buy that separate.
Why are you bringing Nintendo?
Sony doesn't do that. Sony doesn't do that.
Every
Sony bundle is coming to the game.
No,
it was relevant to this conversation.
I was just kidding.
Why you?
Yeah, it's just like Xbox when Xbox sold the Xbox Series X Halo Edition. And then you had to wait a year to get Halo.
Anyway,
what PC comes bundled with a game? Oh, sure, a lot of them. What am I saying?
I mean, okay.
Actually, my PC came bundled with Final Fantasy 15.
See?
There we go. See.
Those
words came out of mouth, and I really immediately realized, man, there's so many examples I'm not thinking of.
So we're going off the rails here. Let me get us back. Insomniac's PlayStation 5 exclusive sold through more than 2.5 million copies in 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
That figure includes pre-order sales of individual units and units bundled with the PS5. The sale milestone means that Spider-Man 2 has overtaken Santa Monica Studios' God of War Ragnarok at the top of the PlayStation Day 1 launch sales chart. Quote, Insomniac Games holds itself to incredibly high standards after we just talked about the flag when it comes to delivering engaging and innovative gameplay experiences, said Eric Lempel, the SVP of Global Marketing, Sales, and Business Operations at Sony Interactive Entertainment. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is Insomniac Games' third installment in the franchise for PlayStation. Built from the ground up to take advantage of the unique features of PlayStation 5, the goal was to massively build off the action, storylines, and features of the first two games. Blah, blah, blah. And then they just go on some more talks about more people with more quotes. But it concludes with, it remains to be seen whether Spider-Man 2 can beat God of War Ragnarok's debut week sales tally of 5.1 million copies. God of War Ragnarok launched in November 2022 on the PlayStation 4 as well as PS5. It's worth noting that Spider-Man 2 is a PS5 exclusive, and so it's selling into a smaller potential install base than Ragnarok did last year. And then they go on to say more and more. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, one, I think we had a conversation about the smaller install base for games like Final Fantasy 16 that are just exclusively on PS5. And then we can look at, what month is this? November, right? Yes.
Yeah. We're in October.
Oh my god, sorry. It's October. But God of War came out in November, so there's a very similar timeline here with this game being the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game. I think that makes Insomniac one of the most successful studio purchases of all the ones that we've seen so far from the purchases from Microsoft and Xbox. At least as far as day one sales and what we can assume are going to be the sales over time. What do you think makes this acquisition and studio stand out among all the others to be able to produce games like this?
I just feel like Insomniac has had... Obviously, they have made in the past before their acquisition, they had made games for other systems. I think that they made Sunset Overdrive for Xbox One originally, right?
It was so fun.
Yeah, so they do have a knack for like making these like very fun like action adventure type games, but they've had a very in particular close relationship with Sony even before their acquisition, and obviously that was made more clear once they were bought. And they're in a nice position because they really understand the PlayStation hardware and how to make the most out of it. I feel like the original Spider-Man was a PS4 exclusive, and I feel like it took good advantage of the PlayStation 4. And then now, we're a few years into the PlayStation 5 at this point. They've probably got the console more or less figured out at this point. Basically, honestly, I'm seeing this stuff online, like the fast travel system and like that kind of stuff is like really taking advantage of the PlayStation 5, which I'm very glad it's exclusive for that very reason. But no, yeah, it's I think it's a good purchase because they already close with the platform holder, and it's just making it just seemed like a natural fit. Like before they got bought, I thought they already were bought by Sony, to be perfectly honest. So it just seemed like a natural fit. They just really understand what they're doing.
So what do you think other companies should do to try to get things in the vein of Insomniac? Is it just because this is Spider-Man? Is it just because it's a single player? Is Wolverine going to see the same thing? Is it superhero? Is it what you said, which is that they know how to work with the PlayStation? Is it that PlayStation's working well with them? Like, what do you think it is? Like, what do they do? What do other studios do that have been acquired if they want this, is it just quality control? Is it just figuring out, like, what do you think? What happens next? How do other people fix their issues?
Yeah, like honestly, I go ahead, Chrissy.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it's just like fostering a relationship between the two companies. It seems like even like what Brandon mentioned, like prior to the acquisition, Insomniac had a really, really, really great relationship with PlayStation. It's like they felt like a second party. Like they weren't really first party, but they felt like a second party game developer solely for PlayStation with how close the relationship was. So it just felt natural.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the big thing. Like if the partnership feels natural, I think the output is going to reflect that. There's a lot of purchases that Microsoft has made. Some of them made sense, but a lot of them were just because Microsoft needed studios. And so since they didn't already have that built-in synergy built up, like there's a lot of work to be done if you can actually like make these like partnerships work for it to feel like you really know what kind of game you're producing for the Xbox. What can the Xbox do that the other systems can't? Like what makes it feel like an Xbox game? And I guess Insomniac kind of figured that out with Spider-Man with theirs, and that's kind of why it's already been working. Like Insomniac, I think is probably one of the best ones to like really figure out what the PlayStation do. That and Santa Monica Studios with God of War. I think those two are very good examples of games that really feel like they are made for PlayStation. Now, obviously, they come out for PC later, and that's just what Sony's doing now. But otherwise, like while they're PlayStation exclusives, they feel like PlayStation exclusives, if that makes sense.
So
it's almost like. Sorry,
No,
this is
go
really
ahead,
quick. It's almost like Sony actually, gives their bot studios the resources they promise, and make sure they can work with PlayStations, unlike someone else we know.
It's so interesting. I would have said that before, but I kind of just, and I could obviously be wrong, but I kind of feel like this game has two things going for it. One of them is that I think Spider-Man is probably the most popular superhero in the world.
Yeah. No. Zero doubt about that. Spider-Man is indeed the most popular. Well, if you're asking the question of why this particular game,
no, I'm not. I was just responding to what Gabe said. I feel like a part of it is just that Spider-Man's so big that it was going to be bought anyway. But also, I do feel like Insomniac was kind of already known for really good polished gameplay and games. Period. So I would have previously said exactly what Gabe said, because he's right, because even Phil Spencer came out and said we didn't give Arcane Studios what they needed to make this game, and that's why it came out like trash. Like we literally just let them do whatever, and then it was too late. Whereas PlayStation is, as we're assuming, much more hands-on. However, I think the same conversation could be had if Microsoft purchased Insomniac. I feel like Spider-Man still would have been a great game, because I feel like this is more on them knowing how to make good games and working on their timeline, as opposed to being forced from by like being bought out and then being forced to work on a separate timeline because you have no games coming out. So it's like you like Microsoft is kind of forcing the hand of the studios they purchased. So even if they could make good games, they may not still be as good as they could have been, because now you're working with the company on a timeline with a set amount of, you know, X, Y, and Z. This is what we need. This is what we expect. Whereas I feel like PlayStation's very much known for its single player stuff, and they have much more leeway. Even if they do have like a slower time frame or slower timeline, I don't ever feel like anything's been too rushed when it comes out. Gabe, I know you wanted to respond. Please go ahead.
I was going to slightly disagree with your comment. I do not think if Insomniac had been bought by Microsoft, we would have gotten a similar Spider-Man product.
But
I really don't think so.
Xbox games exclusive.
Yeah, and they have their reputation of doing that. But guess what? This all boils down again to the debate about the Series X and the Series S. The Series S is the more I look at it, is almost just as powerful as the PS4 Pro. Spider-Man didn't come out on the PS4 for a very good reason, because it couldn't. They were like, we're not even going to risk that because it's going to come out bad. Had Microsoft been in Sony's shoes and now we're doing the current gen consoles, it would have been like, hey, you need to make it for both these consoles because we promised the fans you're going to get the next gen experience on both these consoles.
Or you're right. Or it could have been, let's hold off on the release until we get the new refresh of the Series S that's supposed to make it bigger and better so that it can compete with the X and fulfill the promise that we had before. That just means everybody's going to have to wait, but then you still get it on both consoles. What about that?
I don't think that's a thing either, because Phil Spencer does not seem like a wait for a big game to come out guy. And also, but to me, it also seems like they announced the refreshes despite it being leaked, but also because they saw how bad the Series S, that's the digital one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's how bad it was doing performance-wise.
Well, at least they didn't pull a PlayStation and charge you more for a... Never mind, we talked about that last week. I'm not going to bash PlayStation here. Let's talk a little bit more about Xbox. Microsoft has announced an Xbox partner preview event live stream that will happen on Wednesday, October 25th, featuring reveals from third-party partners for Xbox, Game Pass, and Windows. The event will show new looks and reveals of upcoming games heading to Xbox, Game Pass, and Windows from third-party partners. This is written by the IGN staff over at IGN. And I don't think there's too many more details. It's coming Wednesday, October 25th at 10 a.m. PT, 1 p.m. ET, 6 p.m. BST. It's expected to last for about 30 minutes. And that's all we know so far. Let's see. We can expect trailers and gameplay from partners including Remedy for Alan Wake 2, Ryuga Gotaku Studio for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Studio Wildcard for Ark Survival Ascended, and Microbird Games for Dungeons of Hinterberg. Microsoft has noted that the Xbox partner preview will not include any new information for games relating to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. That's pretty much all we know about this. So my question to you guys is, what are you expecting? What are you looking forward to? What do you think has been missing? What do you think we're going to see in those 30 minutes? Or what would you like to see in those 30 minutes?
Well, given that it's a third-party presentation, I don't know. I don't know if I'm predicting anything new to be announced. Based on, I think what we've been told is more or less what we're going to get. I think it's just going to be updates on those games, maybe one or two of the ones that have been announced or unannounced. But really, I think it's just going to be, hey, these games are coming. They're best on Xbox, so get them there. But otherwise, it's just like, it's just. I just expect new trailers and gameplay for the games. That's my expectation. Is that what they need? They need a little more than what I'm predicting, but I just think that's what's going to be there.
Where's Fable? Where's Wild? Everwild?
Yeah, given that they said third party, I wouldn't expect any of that.
Isn't Fable first party?
Yeah.
So
you know what I was going to say? It's a little mean, but I feel like it's going to be like a Nintendo Direct minus the first parties.
I don't know what that means.
Like
partner
Direct. Exactly what it means. It means everything that's being shown could have been an email.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Direct.
Everwild. Where's Everwild?
Is that
Who's
first party?
Everwild?
That's rare.
I
believe.
legitimately
Rareware.
don't even know. It's been so long. Like I don't even know who's making that game.
I think Everwild is Rare Limited. I think that's the only reason I was interested in it, because Rare was doing it. And I don't know why I feel that way, because Rare of today is not the Rare of yore.
Damn.
So like
rough.
No, that's just a fact. Like the studio, the people that made like the old Rare games that I like the old Donkey Kong or Banjo-Kazooies or Star Fox, not fired. They just left. Like Rare's studio is just like has completely different staff than what used to. Like people say, oh, Rare should make Banjo 3. It's like, bro, that would not be the same game.
Well,
it would like.
What if all the people who loved Banjo are there working right now, and they were like, they keep trying to make us make other shit, but we just want to make Banjo 3, and now we can finally do it. And then best Banjo game ever.
You know what? You could be right. I don't, but I'll say this much: I don't doubt that there's people that are Rare now that grew up playing those old Rare games and want to make games like the ones that they used to make. And if given the chance, they could probably do a great job, but they haven't been given that chance. So who's to say? Like, I just feel like it won't be exactly the same. It could still be good. It just probably won't be exactly the same.
Nothing is ever the same as what it used to be, thanks to nostalgia.
That's very true. That is very true.
That's very true.
Do you know who believes that? Yeah.
Who believes that?
The Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director. It is!
Let's go!
Who calls the original JRPG a difficult title to get into today, but hopes that the sequel can be a better starting place. It's from Games Radar, written by Con Saren. Hamaguchi wouldn't necessarily...
Sorry, the original what?
The original JRPG.
Original FF7?
Difficult... Yes, the original FF7 JRPG.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
I didn't understand.
The tagline is Hamaguchi wouldn't necessarily recommend his 1997 classic today. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director doesn't think the original game is a good starting place for series newcomers. In an interview with Gadget Match during Thailand Game Show 2023, director Naoki Hamaguchi expressed that Final Fantasy newcomers might have heard the names Cloud and Sephiroth before now, but directing those potential fans to 1997's original wouldn't make sense, hence the decision to develop a 3-part remake. Quote, we understand that Final Fantasy VII is a difficult title to get into today, Hamaguchi said, but the game Rebirth is developed very meticulously, so it won't feel unnatural when you start playing. All the tutorials will be there. Okay. That's a slightly surprising perspective, since Rebirth itself is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, but perhaps the upcoming game recapped prior events somehow. Either way, Hamaguchi reiterated that the team created everything carefully so that even a new player can enjoy the game. And yes, they've already talked about how there is going to be a recap of what happened, and how every game is going to be a single entry, so you can play them all, as a beginning, middle, and complete game. But we won't go into the arguments about that. All I want to talk about here is how he's saying and suggesting that Final Fantasy VII, the original, is not something that he would suggest to players to get into the series. Which is something that I've also said, because, I've actually played the original, but as anyone who listens to this podcast knows, I don't like playing old games because I don't think they're very good most of the time, and they usually don't hold up. But what do you guys think about this? Are classic titles like these, as old as games that are released in the 90s, do you think that they are best tried, or should you just, if there is a remake, go towards those? Do you think that some of those older JRPG or RPG titles can hold up today? Especially with the way that we play games?
At least for this one, I'm going to agree. But that's because I've personally tried to play the old Final Fantasy VII game. And I don't know. But again, this is also my fault for not reading. But this is back to that story that I told a while ago, that I remember they had announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. And then my idiot self, I think it was like a month after, I was on the PSN store looking for something new to buy. And I saw that they had Final Fantasy VII Remastered. And I thought it was that game. It wasn't that game. And so I tried playing it, and I was like, what's so great about this game? This game stinks. It's so slow. Yeah. So at least, and I've also tried my hand at the other old Final Fantasy games. I've even tried Dragon Quest. It's called Dragon Warrior back then. And it's just, back then, JRPGs, at least for me especially, were just hard to get into because most of them lack the visual appeal that you want in a fantasy world. Like, you look at the way they made Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you're at every 5 seconds you're looking in the background like, holy shit, that's so pretty. In the old games, you kind of look in the background and you're like, what is that triangle doing randomly floating in the air? That's kind of what it felt like. So at least for JRPGs, I do agree that if there is a remake, go for the remake.
Yeah, I think there's a, specifically with my time with Final Fantasy VII, the original, which I only played like 2 or 3 years ago, or like 2019 maybe, 2018, 2019, right before the remake. And I think what a lot of people, I know people love nostalgia, but unless you've played those games before, if you're coming into those games with a modern perspective, it's really, really hard to play them because there's a section, and anybody who's played Final Fantasy VII will know this, but there's a section in that game where, all the backgrounds are, 2D, right? Rendered, modeled, painted, whatever, depending on the game. And there's a section in that game where I was playing and I was like, I can't walk forward. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't move because I can't see in the environment. And my lovely boyfriend was like, haha, welcome to me in 1997. We all were stuck in the same place and we had to wait until we all figured it out. And I was like, yeah, this is some cute shit for y'all back then. But for me, who is like, I can see and I know where I'm going in every game, it ends up being more frustrating than anything.
I hated that train puzzle.
That's exactly what I was talking about. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
The train puzzle.
Yes, and it's all just because of the way the game is, right? Like, it's not that it's like, it wouldn't be bad today, if we were like, or rather, it wouldn't be bad at the time. Like, it would just be like, that's just how games are made. Like, this is the best we can do. But it's little things like that, like environment things where you can't figure out where you're going. It happened to me when I was playing Final Fantasy IX. There was a portion that was like, go here, and I literally couldn't figure it out because the background was painted into the like image of the screen, and I was like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going. So I think it's more technical things like that are reasons that I wouldn't suggest games, because it's very easy to get stuck or get lost in an older title. And not just RPGs or JRPGs, but just specifically for this, because I know a lot of people that are like, oh, FF7 is great. FF7 can actually be very confusing if you don't pay attention to what the heck is going on. And read everything. You have to be really, really involved in a game like that. And I think Remake does a really great job at bringing everything to you, whereas the original, I got confused quite a few times. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I think, he's right. And I think people need to really consider how good is that old game that you played back in 1990 something, like games from the 90s, right? Like, if you played them again today, are they really as good as you would suggest? Or should you just probably let people not be forced to play? And it also happens to me with Nintendo Switch Online titles. Some of them, I try them and I'm still like, I don't know how people played this. I tried playing Majora's Mask, couldn't walk forward because the controls were not set to, I think I talked about this, because they don't have the C-stick to like do whatever you got to do with the C-stick. It's not on the Switch, and I had no idea how to even move, and I was like, this is not intuitive at all. They haven't fixed this. Things like that, they just don't work. Christy and then Gabe, sorry.
I was about to say, even with the early modern games, you can see it too. I know we spoke about it on our JRPG podcast for Final Fantasy X, and we had some of us, we were like, the voice acting was atrocious. How was this the greatest game? How did people love this? It's atrocious. And you're like, well, that's what it was back then. It was great.
Yeah, speaking of JRPG Club, Stephanie, I don't know, anyone who hasn't listened to the JRPG Club should definitely go listen to like the first episode. A friend of the show, Stephanie, was playing. She has never played a JRPG before. She didn't even own a PlayStation. And in the intro of Final Fantasy X, there's a tutorial in which you're playing, I think, as Auron and Titus, and you have to like kill the enemies, but you're supposed to run. She didn't get the fact that you were supposed to run, and she died like 10 times in the beginning of the game because she kept trying to fight everything that was like coming towards her. And it's things like that. Like, we get it because we're gamers. We've done this before. But for someone trying to play an older title like that connection isn't made. Like, you have to be more explicit with things like that. Sorry.
Like Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, like Kingdom Hearts.
Like Kingdom Hearts 1 and the Destiny Island at the very beginning, after you get the tutorial and then the island's under attack with the Heartless, you're running around.
Yes.
I remember running around and dying multiple times.
Things like
before
that.
Figuring out, oh, I'm supposed to go here.
Like, that doesn't happen in modern games for the most part. But like older titles like that's what you dealt with. Gabe, you were going to say something?
Not saying it's your fault, but on the Switch Online, there is multiple ways of using the C stick. There is the right analog stick, and then there is also pressing R2, and then and then either Y, B, or A, they each correspond to the down, to the left, down, right, and the Switch does tell you about that control scheme. So
No. I did figure it out because someone told me about it. The Switch does not, like, if you boot up a game immediately, or at least when you did, it does not tell you how to correlate those. You have to literally go look for it. It is not a one-to-one correlation in there.
That's crazy.
It's not at all. And I will double check after this because and I know because Brandon, I think Brandon remembers me being like, "What the fuck? How do I play this?" As does my boyfriend, because at the time there is no. And Brandon, I think Brandon was the one who helped me figure that out, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I think I walked you through it. I had to like figure it out myself because
it's not there.
I haven't played very many N64 games without the N64 controller that I bought with it. Like the only game that I don't play with that is like Pokemon Puzzle League because you really just use the D-pad and A, and that's pretty much it.
Yes, so but it's not just like it's not just there, and it's not intuitive. It is definitely something you have to search for to figure out how to do. Because you boot up the game with some Joy-Cons, and they're just gonna be sitting there like, what the fuck. Anyway, moving right along.
Mostly because...
Wait, hold on. I haven't said my piece yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please.
Yeah, no.
Gabe is, for anyone not watching, Gabe is getting his Switch to try to prove me wrong right now.
Okay, so while he's doing that, so for Final Fantasy VII, I know there's a lot of people that are probably upset about that because, you know, Final Fantasy VII is just one of those games that if you grew up in that era, you played. It's so people have a lot of nostalgia for it. So being told that, it's probably not a good starting point, I think it's very difficult for people to take off their nostalgia glasses for something that they grew up playing. And I get that. There's a lot of old games that I have fondness for, even though I could probably acknowledge today they're probably not as good as I remember them being. Now, so as someone who has a Doesn't Hold Up series on Twitch and plays old games and finds value in them, even I have problems with the OG FF7. I did, even though I did own a PlayStation 1 growing up, it was mostly for licensed games that I was just interested as a kid. Like, like I didn't own Metal Gear Solid, I didn't have Twisted Metal, I didn't have Resident Evil, I didn't have Final Fantasy VII to the point. So I didn't have that nostalgia. So I really the Switch port of FF7 was my very first time playing the game.
Same.
And yeah, no, there's a lot that's not explained to you that you have to like figure out. I think there's fun to be had there. Like for the time I was playing it, I was enjoying it. But there's some old ass shit, like we just mentioned like a few minutes ago. The train thing, like the backgrounds just look so similar that I was just lost. And I'm like, what is a walkway? And
yes, literally.
Like what part of the background is a walkway? Like I remember Donkey Kong Country had like those backgrounds like that, but that's a side scroller. You're not worried about where you're not worried about where you're stepping because it's literally left and right. You're not worried about that. But with FF7, where there's like all these different directions, I will wrap this up because I know Gabe is ready to talk some trash. But yeah, no, where you can go all these different directions, you don't know where you can walk. It's rough. It is rough. But the only reason why the only counterpoint I have to all this is like, yeah, if the remake is there, why play the original? Is something I would say for the most part. Like, I would never go back to the original Metroid with the existence Zero mission, for example. But the difference with FF7 Remake is that, like, it's a remake, but it's also kind of a sequel to FF7. So a lot of hardcore fans will kind of like you know it's in a gray area in that regard. Like, I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to be spoiling people on FF7 on this podcast.
The question is, will Kitase get his wish that Cloud has no party members at the very end?
I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't want to go into full-on theory thing because Gabe's waiting. All I'm saying is that there's value in still playing the original with the remake and with the remake existing, and that's I think where my only counter argument comes in. But that being said, like, I would, if you're someone that's never played FF7, I mean, I would at least try it. You know, maybe you have a friend that gives you some tips. I would try.
No. Absolutely, I'm gonna agree with Drill on this one. Yeah. With the FF7 remake available, absolutely just jump straight into that. Do not try the old game. I'm sorry. It's
no. I'm sorry. I would never deny someone the possibility that they may actually like it. So I'm sorry, I can't agree with that.
I mean, if you like playing old games, then yes, you should give it a try. But if you're more like a modern gamer, then no.
The game is okay. Like, the thing is,
I wouldn't have. The thing is,
like, I enjoyed my time playing it.
Yeah.
However, I do think that you should just go for the best version that is going to make things clear for you, and it's going to be the best, like, because I think it has the ability to potentially make you not like the game if you can't play it right. Like, I go back to, Marissa loves Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. She couldn't get through and didn't like Final Fantasy X. Those are two, JRPGs that are, I hesitate to say similar, but they're not too dissimilar. There's a reason that one works for her and one doesn't, and a lot of it is mechanics-wise. It had nothing to do with the story. It could be a great story, but if you can't play the game and you can't figure out the mechanics, you're not going to like it. And that could be something that will turn someone off from something like Final Fantasy VII Remake if they start with the original and they're just like, why do people like this?
Let me be clear. I'm not saying start with FF7. I'm saying remake
about. That's why.
That's the article.
Yeah, he's saying
okay. That's fair. Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. In that case, 100% agree. 1% don't agree. In this modern age, if you want to get into it, maybe not the original's not your unless like Chris said, you really like old games or old JRPGs. No, absolutely start with the remake. But if you find you really like the remake and you want to know, what's going to be different or how it's going to affect it, then I try the original, see if you like it. If you don't, screw it. Just play the remake
I'd say play the mobile game.
I think people should try. Like, Ever Crisis has its issues too, though. Like,
it's gonna go through the whole story for you.
It will. It certainly will. But it's not an imperfect way to do it as well. Like, it has its own issues. Like, it's more modern, so you'll definitely be able to get through it a lot easier than OG FF7. But I'm just curious how that gacha system is going to go. They also had some side quests here and there. Like, I have my issues with Ever Crisis, but let me not get into all that. Gabe, what is it that you wanted to say to Jerome?
It does not take that long to find the controls for the game for
That's
the C-Stick.
not what
It literally tells.
I said it doesn't. It does not upfront tell you how to play it.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Literally, all you have to do is when you bring up the suspend menu, hit X for user guide, and it tells you right there. That is the same thing as pausing your game to look at the control book. Sadly, we don't get those anymore. When you buy a physical thing, it literally tells you right there.
Gabe, all I can tell you is that I know that Brandon and I had issues trying to figure it out. Now, once again, this was a while ago, and it has been updated, so I cannot say that it has always been that way.
And I can't, because that's how I figured it out.
Okay, great for you, but this was like at least a year or two ago. But also, it doesn't matter. The point that I was making still stands, that it's not intuitively there for you. The fact that you have to go in and figure out how to do it means that it could potentially be, I'm not saying it's a huge barrier, but it could potentially be a barrier, because if I want to just go start this game
barrier for
and
who?
I can't, literally anyone, it may seem like nothing to you. Listen, it may seem like nothing to you.
Because back then, they used to give us these controls, the manual with the controls, and so everybody would look at the pretty booklet first before playing the game, unless you're me. And you're like, oh, pretty booklet, whatever.
Menu.
You know,
I didn't play it anymore. I literally was stuck. Brandon helped me figure it out, and I was like, well, I'm done with this, and that was that.
I'm going to, in a weird way, string this back to FF7, because Chrissy just mentioned instruction booklets. Something I often wonder when I play my Does It Hold Up games is how much better would some of these older games better if I had access to the original booklets that came with some of these games. Because a lot of those old games, you're struggling to figure out shit because you don't have the booklet that would teach you all that stuff. They didn't have room in some of those old cartridges to give you those in-depth tutorials, so they would rely on you reading the books. And I often wonder about that. And back to Final Fantasy VII, I just wonder how much of that I would have been able to pick up easier if I had an instruction booklet in my Jewel box, which obviously I don't have because I'm playing on Switch, so
Yeah. I'm gonna re-download Nintendo 64 Switch Online, and I'm gonna start it and see what the game tells me. It's gonna tell me nothing. Anyway,
but what are you gonna tell us next time?
That I didn't play the Mario Majora's Mask again, because it's old. And that was the only Zelda game I actually really wanted to play, and I still haven't played it. Isn't that a shame? So let's talk about voice actors.
Oh, speaking of shame.
Wait, what's? Oh, okay. I was actually gonna switch and not talk about voice actors first, but since you brought it up, let's do it. So do you guys have you guys seen Bleach? Have you watched Bleach?
I'm like
trash anime.
No.
Anyway, I'm like 2 episodes behind the dub currently.
God. Bleach was my first anime, like my first adult anime, and I loved it.
That explains why you can't get into anime.
Okay, so Bleach is coming out with
I'm ignoring the bait, man. Just keep talking.
Bleach: The 1,000-Year Blood War is coming out soon, I believe.
It's out.
Oh, it's out.
It's currently on.
Airing.
It's currently airing. The dub is currently airing. Like part 2 of the 1,000-Year Blood War just finished sub, but the dub is still going because there's like 2 or 3 episodes behind.
Thank you. So the English voice for Yoruichi in Bleach: The 1,000-Year Blood War is Anaris. An Iris.
An Iris. I don't know how to pronounce her last. An Iris, but I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Aniris Quinones. I'm assuming Quinones. I'm so sorry,
Okay.
Aniris, if I'm saying your name wrong when you watch this podcast. Just send me a DM and tell me how to pronounce it, and I will go back and edit this. If I didn't edit it, it means she didn't send me that DM. Anyway, she is a pretty famous voice actress now for voicing some wonderful characters, including Kimberly in Street Fighter 6. She was cast
my hero.
Yes, thank you. She was cast as Yoruichi in Bleach: The 1,000-Year Door, and she posted it on her Instagram, on her Twitter account, her X account, and got all these congratulations. And then I think this week, so like a couple weeks later, she sent another tweet that said, "Hey, all, the studio and client decided to go in a different direction, so I'm no longer voicing Yoruichi in Bleach TYBW, and my recordings will be replaced. It's been a lot to take on such an iconic woman of color. I appreciate all the love. I'll still be voicing Hiyori, though." So first, before I go into like the second half of this, just so you guys know, she's been replaced by Wendy Lee, who is the original voice actress for Yoruichi in Bleach. First things first, how do you guys feel about, now Wendy Lee is not black, she is white, as far as I'm aware.
Shit.
She's very white.
I'm sorry, bro. I was looking at the screenshots and I was like, is that a person in the profile picture?
Okay, and Yoruichi is clearly a brown-skinned character. So the assumption, I'm assuming, is that because Anna Iris does a lot of POC. She does, like, lots of characters in general, but a lot of her characters are also POC characters. And it's great to see someone who is POC voicing POC characters for voiceover. But first things first, how do you feel about a POC character being voiced by a POC voice actor and then being removed from that role to be replaced by a non-POC person? However, with the caveat that non-POC person is the original voice actor.
So, quite frankly, we're going to get into the second half of this in a second, but it's referring to just the first half. Yeah, this situation's an absolute mess because here's the thing. Yoruichi is obviously a very well-known character in Bleach. And as you mentioned, Wendy Lee originated the role in the dub. She was the original voice of Yoruichi and did it all the way up until the end of the original anime's ending before 1,000-Year Blood War. So a lot of people were wondering, hey, when Yoruichi inevitably comes back for 1,000-Year Blood War, will Wendy Lee reprise the role or should be recast? And the reason why people even entertained the idea that she might have been recast is because I think we talked about this a few weeks ago when 1,000-Year Blood War was starting, that Jameson Price, who had previously voiced the character of Chad, had voluntarily stepped down from the role to allow someone of Hispanic descent to actually voice the character. But he chose to do that. Like, Viz didn't tell him to do that. Like, he felt that it was the right thing to do, and so he willingly stepped down from the role. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, are they gonna do the same thing, Yoruichi?" And her character appeared in the anime. She was cast. An Iris voiced her, and people were happy because it's again a person of color voicing a character of color in the thing. And then they announced that Wendy Lee is going to be taking it back, and that's where the mess comes in. If they had left it as Wendy Lee, obviously given the Chad situation, a few people were like, "Why did that one change?" But I think people would have been overall okay with it. Now, when an Iris mentioned it, universal praise for the most part. Like there was a few people like, I missed the original voice actress, but most people, in as far as I was seeing, were very happy that an Iris got it. But then for them to go back, now we're at a point where very few people that originally would have been happy with Wendy Lee staying as the role are now like, oh, this is messy. I don't like this now, especially since an Iris like. I saw the one episode, poor Iris. I saw the one episode where she got to actually dub Yoruichi. It was great. She did a great job. And so for it to go back to Wendy Lee is like it's not a good look. Yeah, like I think if you're asking me personally, I think like given that Chad was recast, I think it would have been a good idea to do it with Yoruichi in the first place. But again, if Wendy had stayed and this had not happened at all, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah,
But,
I completely agree. I think it's just been a mess because, like,
Yeah.
if you're giving someone the job and they have the job and they've announced that they have the job because you've given them the okay to announce
Exactly.
they have the job, like,
That's the worst part.
can't
Like I feel
go
so
back.
bad for her. I feel so bad for her that she like very publicly announced this, got so much praise from her peers and just fans in general. Like it's a big deal. Like I mentioned before, Yoruichi is a very popular character in Bleach. So for her to voice this character, huge honor. Huge, humongous honor for a voice actress, and so to have to walk it back like a week later is humiliating.
Yeah,
I feel very bad
embarrassing
for
and
her.
humiliating. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy you brought that up because that's actually what I was gonna say. Like, it's not just that it was handled poorly. It's also, you have to think about her and the job that she got, that she was able to announce that now she has to, go back and say, sorry, I'm not doing it anymore. Especially after you've already done it and it's already premiered and we've already heard
And it was good.
And like, it's not like it was bad. So it's a very difficult situation that Viz Media is in. Obviously, we don't know what happened behind the scenes to make this happen. People will speculate because Wendy Lee is a voice acting director. She's directed voice acting for other things, so people can speculate that she had something to do with it. She goes on to say that it was like a scheduling issue and all this other stuff. Any more comments about how Viz Media handled the situation before I go into the Wendy Lee side of things?
Viz Media stinks.
Nope.
All right, great. So now we can go into the rest of it. So after this was tweeted by an Iris, a lot of other voice actors came out and they were like, we're sorry that this happened to you. We're sorry to hear this. It kind of sucks. Best wishes to you. And Wendy Lee decided that it would be a good idea to comment on all of those voice actors who are also her peers, her own messages to the same. I'm sorry. Hold on. I finally finished downloading Mask on my Switch. Let's see. Okay, I can move forward. Oh, what's the right stick do? Nothing? I don't get it. Oh, it flips this little blue button. I guess you just I don't know. There's no.
But see, you're being dumb. Why don't you correlate the direction of the
so
C
what I'm
stick
gonna do is press
to the C
start.
button?
I don't even know what is the C stick. What is the C
The
stick?
C stick is the right analog stick.
No, it's not. The right analog
Yes,
stick
it
is
is.
this little
You don't have
blue
anything
button.
equipped. It's not gonna do anything.
Why the fuck are you yelling at me? I just started the game, and I'm moving the C stick to move the camera because that's what you do in normal games.
You're
and
acting
you know what
like
it's
such
not
a
doing?
Gen Zer.
It's
Oh
not
my
moving the
goodness.
camera.
This is.
No.
I expect this from my 5-year-old cousin or something.
The right analog stick moves the camera in almost every modern game, so I use the right analog stick.
But
to
it's
move
not
the
a modern
camera, and
game.
guess what?
That's your first
Hey,
mistake. Is
guess
calling it a
what?
modern game.
I've never played this, so I'm figuring it out. I understand now that I can't move the camera that way. Can I move the camera at all? I don't know.
No,
Let's
no,
press
no,
R1.
no, no, no.
R1 makes
Absolutely
me crouch.
not.
What's R2 do? Oh, absolutely
Absolutely not.
nothing. Wait,
No.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know what R2
Playing
does.
an N64
L1,
game and
L2?
trying to correlate it to modern games is not the same thing. That is a piss poor argument.
There's no jump button? Oh, I guess I can't jump.
No, because you can't jump in a Zelda game.
You
Everyone
can
who's played Zelda
grab
knows
and
that.
Attack. Yeah,
Unless it
I
came from
see
Breath of the
these.
Wild.
So you see these yellow
Yeah, Breath of
buttons
the Wild.
here. I assume
Yeah.
that they would correlate to the D-pad buttons on this. 'cause
Why would
that
they
would
be on that
smart.
side of the screen then?
And guess what? They do nothing. Why the fuck do they look
Not
exactly
even,
like these buttons?
not even in modern games do they have
Why the fuck do they look
buttons
exactly
on one
like the
side
buttons
and the
that
others
you're
on this
supposed to
side.
press?
Absolutely not.
Why the fuck do they look
No.
exactly like the buttons?
They do not look exactly alike.
Boy, what
They
are
do
you
not-
talking about? These are the same.
They don't. You want to see? You want to know why they don't look alike? Because first of all, in the C one, they're fucking yellow.
I'm sorry. There's a circle
They're
with
yellow.
a triangle pointing to the direction, and you know what the D-pad looks
Is
like?
there-
A circle with a triangle pointing to the direction.
Is there
So-
is there a circle? Is there a regular circle on the screen that tells you it's the moving stick? No.
No. That's why I
Exactly.
know that it's the left analog stick, and usually the right one is for camera, but it's not. Now,
Yeah, the
what
right
do
one's
I
for
do?
cameras for modern games.
Okay, so where's the instructions to figure out how it works?
When you press the suspend
Okay,
menu,
you press suspend. It says continue, load, create, reset, 2 game selection. Where?
read the
Where?
read the 3 on the bottom. Read the 3 on the bottom.
What are you talking about? User guide, back, and okay. all
User
right, fine.
guide. User guide.
Oh, look. Once again, it doesn't even correlate to the same shit. It does nowhere does it say C
Since
button.
what? Yes, it does,
No, it doesn't. Where does it say C button? Brendan, do you see a C button anywhere here?
bro.
the
The
bottom right.
The bottom
yeah,
right.
the
it
bottom
says
right.
ZR and cursor and ZR. It does not say.
It's
Frank,
telling me
Frank,
what it
Frank,
correlates
popcorn.
to the buttons on the
Oh, thank
controller.
you.
As I was saying.
You're wrong, and you know it.
Okay. Excuse me.
Puppets dance.
Anyway, as I was saying, so Wendy Lee decided that she would. I'm just gonna have to buy a Nintendo 64 controller apparently, so I can play this.
That's just a
Damn
waste
game.
of money at that point.
You're still not gonna finish the
Anyway.
game regardless.
Anyway,
Would any viewers like some popcorn?
so
What kind of flavor is that?
okay. Anyway, yeah, what flavor is that actually?
It's just regular salted popcorn.
Okay.
No, the green bag makes it seem.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I thought it was a
it.
different flavor because it was
Like,
green back.
yeah, I was like, wait a
Um,
minute.
No.
So I'm just gonna read to you guys some of the replies to Aniris's
painful.
comment. So someone replied, "That's wild. You sounded fantastic as her, and I'm sorry you're going through this." Kaylee Mills. And then Wendy Lee responded and said, "Just maintaining the iconic character Kaylee." So Kaylee responded and said, "This is not a slight at you, just a choice to recast and then renege after the fact. Regardless of the reason, it was a really uncool thing to do to Aniris." So Wendy Lee said, "No, question mark, and what position does that put me in? This is the biz. We all get recast at some point. In this case, it was mistakenly done by the person scheduling." So Kaylee responded and said, "I'm truly, honestly, just trying to show support for someone who was hurt, but I'll try to be more quiet in the future." And then she goes on to say, "I'm sorry if what I said offended you." I paraphrased that last one because I don't have the whole thing. Now, there's more, but what I want to point out is that people are on Aniris's Twitter, just giving their condolences, and the response is Wendy Lee making this about her, when it is not at all about her. So I'll read some more. Chris Tergliafera responded to Aniris and said, "Flat out wrong. You deserve better, and we all know it." Wendy Lee responded, "Wrong," in quotes, "for Viz Media to maintain the OG cast." Okay, Chris. Sounding like a little attitude there. Kellen Goff said, "I'm so sorry. For what it's worth, you'll always be my Yoruichi, wishing this to be a blip in the sea of W's for you moving forward." Wendy Lee said, "I see." You know what she's like? She's like a really sad supervillain. It's just like trolling people on the internet, waiting for someone to say something. She's like, "I see you don't like me. Wow, you're mean. You don't believe in me." Like, no one has said anything about you. So she responded to someone else and said, "Just following what Viz requested. Thought I too might have your support, Tiana." She was responding to Tiana Camacho Vio. And then to Xander Mobus, she said, "You're really disappointed, Xander? Question mark. I see." Yeah, and then she did go on to delete some of these, but not all of them. You can probably still go to her Twitter and see her replies. Most of these are
I
still
saw
there.
a few of them still.
Oh, yeah.
She also
There's still- some
responded
of them
to
are still
someone
there.
else and said, "Nothing whatsoever, but I did establish a role years ago." And then to someone else she said, "Staff at Studio Polis made a single casting mistake. Viz wants the iconic OG cast intact. Your friend still has roles and will be fine, I'm sure." And then there's a whole exchange she has with Xander Mobus, who I'm sure most of our listeners have heard from various games. But I won't go on. The point I'm trying to make is having heard or read these, I want you guys' opinion on how Wendy Lee is handling the situation.
Oh, what the heck?
What is that?
Oh yeah, I know
Oh,
that
okay.
meme.
So this reminds
I know
me
that.
of I think her name's Katie Hopkins. This is how it feels to be a white conservative woman, and she has a yellow target on her forehead. And someone replied underneath, "I actually love this metaphor because it's a fake target, and you've put it there yourself."
That's exactly.
That's what this
Man.
lady. No one said, "Oh, I can't believe they're replacing you with Katie Lee. That fucking sucks." And she just comes in and it's like you said, she's making it about herself. She's like, "Oh, you don't like me? Well, fuck you." She didn't say that, but
That's Gabe. I'm glad you brought that up because that's honestly the best. That's honestly sums it up perfectly. Because here's the thing: what Wendy Lee said, as that this is part of the biz, and that's very true. Like recastings happen all the time, scheduling issues happen all the time. Like this is something that happens. It has happened, and I don't think any of these voice actors or the public at large would have necessarily held Wendy Lee any ill will for continuing to voice the character that she has always voiced up until this point. Where the ill will came from is, like you said, Jarrell, all of her voice actor colleagues and other fans, expressing their condolences, their heartfelt well wishes. That like we mentioned before, she was humiliated publicly by this fact that she announced this role and that now she's not no longer doing it. Wendy Lee was not brought up in any of these. They didn't say anything against her. They just simply said, "Hey, no tags, whatsoever. No, her name was not mentioned." They just said, "Hey, we're sorry this happened. We know this is a big deal, and then you lost the role." And like you said, Wendy Lee made it about herself, and then she's just like she took for whatever reason she took this as like people giving their support to an Iris as a attack against her, and started going after all these people. Like as if they were like upset that she had this role, which that's really not what it was. It wasn't really that at all. And it's hard to see this because let me just give people our listeners a little context here. Wendy Lee is like a legend in the voice acting industry. Yeah. She has been around since in the 90s. Like she was a voice of freaking Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop, TK in the original Digimon dub. Like she's been doing this for a long time. So I guarantee you on nearly all of these voice actors that she went after before this incident probably really looked up to her. Like, because she was like a legend. They wanted to, even an Iris, I think she said at one point, said that she really looked to Wendy Lee and was just doing her best to give Yoruichi the best because she know that she wanted to do Wendy Lee proud. And then so for all this to happen, it's just like, it's a shame. It is a terrible shame that she had to make it about herself, that she took this in such a wrong way. And yeah, it's tough to see when you don't meet your heroes sometimes. Sometimes they can be assholes.
I think what pissed me off the most about this was her comment about oh, she'll be fine, she can get other jobs. First of all, there are very few POC in anime, period. Even in 2023. There are definitely way more than there used to be, but even in 2023 there are very few POC characters in anime, just in general. And the fact that this is a black character that finally was able to be voiced by a black person and they did a really good job, and you're taking it away from them because I understand that it was your role and I understand that it was a mistake. You make it seem like you're taking it away from them with the way that you're responding, as opposed to just being like, this does suck. I'm sorry that this happened to you. I am reprising the role just because I was asked to and there was a scheduling issue. That could have been it. But now it's you're fine. You don't need this. Bitch, you don't need it. You're fucking Wendy Lee. You don't need this role. You don't need to take this role from a black person who's now voicing it because of a mistake. You're, like Gabe said, you're very white. And the character is not. And there are not that many opportunities for that. That's why, and Iris is basically doing all the black female actors now because there aren't that many roles for them. She also does Nessa in the Pokemon.
Yes, she does in the Pokemon Twilight Ring series. Yes.
But I think that's what pissed me off the most, because it's like, oh, there are so many other opportunities. There might not be for her. Like, if she's being typecast as only being able to voice POC characters, then there aren't as many opportunities as there are for someone like you, Wendy Lee, who can literally go get as many voices as you want. Like, it's not a problem for you. You're a veteran here. You already have, like, the credentials. And not only that, you have to work with you are going to probably have to work with a lot of these voice actors that you're tearing down in these comments. Like, it's not like you're doing this to random people. These are your colleagues. It's not, and they're telling you, we're not against you. Why are you doing this? You're ostracizing yourself for a role that you did in 1990 something, bitch. Like, it's really not that big of a deal.
But also, she's a veteran, and the fact that she's acting like this, and you're like, how old are you?
Yes, literally, because she wasn't tagged. Like, you literally had to go in there and read all of these and decided to comment on that. Nobody tagged you in this.
Why are you reading all this? Just, like, move along, or,
like,
just be like, you know what? There's scheduling error. I'll let her continue to voice the character, yada, 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 and just go on with your life. But the fact that she's, like, attacking her peers...
And then
it's like she was ready for this. Like, the fact that she wasn't tagged and she was responding to this, it's like she, this all happened after the new episode of the dub aired with, Wendy Lee back as Yoruichi. So obviously that surprised a lot of people that heard Aniris in the previous episode. And it's like, whoa, Wendy Lee's back? What's going on? And so Aniris, of course, had to make that tweet telling the people that, hey, I'm not Yoruichi anymore. I'm sorry, whatever. And so Wendy Lee, for her to, like, see all this, and she must have been, like, I don't know, stalking Aniris's page and whatever, getting ready to, like, have to defend herself. And it's such a shame. By the way, this whole situation kind of reminds me of the whole Helena Taylor situation with Bayonetta. And I also want to be clear about something that I said there as well, as, like, it's one thing if you, like, are well known for a role, but no one owns, like, their character. Like, you're given the opportunity to, like, really give these characters life and voice it, and that, of course, you have a connection to them, but you don't own them. Like, if Aniris was Yoruichi, then that means she's the character now, and it's like you're not entitled to her just because you voiced her before. Like, if Viz really wanted to go in the direction of having Aniris voice Yoruichi, then you have no say in that. That's what they're doing the anime. They're doing the anime, so they have the say in who's voicing the characters and what they think is best for the role. In this case, again, we don't know the exact specifics of what happened behind the scenes. And Wendy Lee claims there's scheduling conflicts. Who knows what the full story is? But regardless, Aniris voiced her for an episode, and then Wendy Lee took her back. So that's just how it happened to be. But we could have also been in a timeline where Aniris just stayed as Yoruichi, and that would have been. Yeah.
Aniris said that she did a lot of extra lines too for the character, and that they're being re-recorded.
Exactly. So she did it for the episode that had already aired, and she had done it for future episodes that were going to air. But those recordings, like she said, those recordings have been taken off, and now Wendy Lee's doing it. What I don't know is if they're going to redub for the episode that had already aired. I haven't gone back and checked that. But for future episodes that are going to be airing with Yoruichi, it's going to be Wendy Lee until they say otherwise.
It's just so upsetting that you have so many opportunities. Like, you're a veteran, you have so many opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, to take one from, and I'm sorry that I keep bringing it back to, like, a POC person voicing a POC character, but, like, to me, when your colleague is literally like, you know what, I'll let, someone of Hispanic heritage voice this Hispanic character because I have other opportunities, and you're just like, I was there first, I'm the veteran, I don't care, it's mine. Like, that kind of just also shows, your character. Like, your previous colleagues understand what's going on, and you're just, like, so oblivious to the bigger picture of your decision. Like, and I'm not saying that you had to. No one has to give up anything, right? Like, if that's your job and you had it and you want to keep it, I'm not telling you to stop it. I'm not telling her to not be a part of it. Like, I don't care if you're a white actor.
But even then, if Viz Media wanted to, recast the character with a POC, then why are you fighting them on this? Like, it makes you look bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're running out of time, so I'm gonna move on. We have just a few minutes left. So let's rapid fire this. Paradox Interactive and Harebrained Schemes will part ways on January 1st, 2024. Quote, Paradox will retain ownership of the Lamplighters League and other games developed by the studio. HPS will seek new publishing partnership and investment opportunities.
I don't even know who these people are.
All right, well
What do they
then
make?
we're gonna move on because I don't know. Netflix
Okay,
has
cool.
revealed the first look at the live-action Fire Nation royal family. What did you guys think of it?
Look great. Can't wait for this. Can't wait.
It looks great.
Bruh.
I like literally like what the One Piece live action has restored my faith in these adaptations. So I'm willing to give this a chance.
I don't know who casted Fire Lord Ozai, but they really want me to be on his side because that man is fine.
Join the fire. Hey, that's literally what Avatar is about. Like the Fire Nation.
Join the Fire Nation.
Exactly. The Fire Nation doing propaganda. The Fire Nation doing propaganda to get you in. They just had an easier time because they have a handsome ass Ozai.
Bruh, that man, I will join. I will be.
I will. Jarrell said I will.
Fire.
Jarrell said I will wipe out the last Airbender myself.
I don't know where his wife is right now, but I'll tell you his wife gonna be, and that's gonna be me. Let me get off in there. Now I want to watch. You know, I'm such a simp. Is that what they call him, a simp?
Yes.
That is the term, yes.
I'm such a simp.
But it's fine.
I'm gonna watch this show. By the way,
cool.
I wasn't. I was like, yeah. I watched the other one. It was good. We talked about it last week. One Piece. And I was like, yeah. Do I need to watch Avatar? Yeah. Now I'm gonna be tuned in day one. I'm only watching Fire Nation stuff. Skipping all the rest.
Fire Nation Supercut.
If he's not in this show enough, I will be writing Netflix. You do not waste a character like that. City Skylines 2 devs warn players of performance problems. Quote, we have not achieved the benchmark we targeted. So we've heard of PR doing damage control on games performance after the fact. How do you guys feel about warning players beforehand that their game isn't going to be what they wanted?
Why are you releasing the game?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like,
honest,
what?
Tell me beforehand. I would prefer that you told me before I got it, and then I found out, like, Mortal Kombat.
See, here's the thing. That sounds reasonable, what you just said. Like, yeah, tell me beforehand if your game's... Yeah, because then you just cancel your order. But at the same time, it's like, we always say that like a game comes out shitty and then it's like, well, shit, why didn't you tell us beforehand? But then you're thinking, but then when it actually happens, like, well, shit, why don't you just delay the game? It's like, what's going on here?
Fair.
Just like we're always like, well, why didn't you do the next worst thing? But then if you're at the next worst thing, you're just like, well, why don't you do the next? Until eventually you just get to the thing that's like, why don't you use the good thing? Which the good thing is just like delay the. I don't know what's going on here, man. I don't know.
And you know what sucks too is that the game's gonna come out and they're like, oh, we told them it's gonna suck. So obviously not the developing team. Whoever's in charge of whoever's in charge of like the timelines, they'd be like, oh, we'll just use the money we make from the game coming out to fix the game. That's not gonna happen because now you've told everyone. Everyone's like, it's like Jarrell said, like, I'm just gonna cancel my pre-order or I'm just not gonna get the game at all. And now you're not gonna make that money back, and the game is gonna stay shitty forever. And you just fucked over that dev team because instead of doing the smart thing of delaying the game, you gave an unreleased product to the public, and then they're like, nah, we're not gonna put money on this.
So, just so we're all aware, the game, I believe, is not going to have issues on PC. It's the console that is going to have some performance issues.
The console version, what are you doing?
They did say...
Just release it on PC. Like, City Skyline is a game that's primarily paid on PC anyway, so just delay the console version. It's 2023. The game is a year stacked already.
This is what they said. Quote, City Skylines 2 is a next-gen title, and naturally it demands certain hardware requirements. With that said, while our team has worked tirelessly to deliver the best experience possible, we have not achieved the benchmark we targeted. And then the article goes on to say, despite this, the City Builder won't be delayed on PC as it was delayed on console. And then it says, quote, we've taken the long-term vision of the project into account and feel that a release now is the right step, though no further explanation is given as to why they feel releasing now is the right move. Quote, we will continually improve the game over the coming months, but we also want to manage expectations on performance for the coming release. Our ambition is for City Skylines 2 to be enjoyed by as many people as possible, and we're committed to ensuring it reaches its full potential. So it looks like they've already delayed the game. They're not going to delay it anymore, which could be, a number of reasons. Could be marketing. It could be... anything. You know, we came into that issue with FF14, I believe, that had marketing everywhere, and then they had to go back and push off release for a while, and it was a whole thing because they wanted it finished. And then we talked about how hard that is because you have marketing deals with everyone, and you have all these people that need you to release your game on time. So whatever, I guess they don't have time to release it anymore, and they've come under the "we'll fix it when it's already out" thing. But I think this is actually, commendable, because I do think that gives me as a consumer the right to cancel, as opposed to cancel and wait for it to be fixed, as opposed to a Mortal Kombat 11 situation. I mean, Mortal Kombat 1 situation where I buy it on Switch and it's trash and I have no idea how long it's going to take them to fix this. I could just, knowing ahead of time gives the player options. I prefer that they did that instead of just releasing it and then making a statement after, because that's kind of fucked. Because at this point, I don't know what you do.
I would just love to be a fly on the wall to know what the actual the behind the scenes reason why it has to release now. But yeah, I guess if whatever they've determined is they've determined it has to come out now, then sure. By all means, let people know. I guess that's the best case they can do if it must release now. But
it's really hard because City Skylines is a game that requires a lot on your PC. I played the first one, so it does require a lot, and I think they were just working on getting the minimum requirements to work, and then now getting that to work on console. I don't know. That's from PC Gamer. I'm moving on. The Final Fantasy XIV Xbox Series XS open beta test is scheduled for mid-January to February. I will be playing on my Xbox, so I can tell them what they need to know so they can get more people to play on Xbox so that we can all play Fall Guys in Final Fantasy XIV. And that's where that goes. Final story.
Beans.
Kevin Feige was reportedly pressured by Disney into announcing new Marvel Studios projects, including Fantastic Four and Armor Wars, during Disney's Investor Day 2020, despite them being nowhere near ready. Kathleen Kennedy was also reportedly pressured into announcing new things as well. Question for you guys. Because, as Brandon reminded me, I'm pretty sure we did talk about this in 2020 when the announcements were initially happening. What do we think about hearing this now that the information is coming out that we know that they were pressured into doing this? The Kathleen Kennedy was reportedly pressured into announcing the new Lucasfilm projects.
Yeah, like you just said, we did talk about this in 2020 about how it was a weirdly stacked announcements from that one D23. Where it was just so many Marvel announcements, so many Star Wars announcements, stuff that we know that they. And let's just be real. Let's just be perfectly frank about this. We speculated this back then, and it's pretty much confirmed now. 2020 was a rough year for every business, and especially Disney. So both consumers and mostly investors were concerned with, hey, what's going on? Investors always got to make their money. It doesn't matter what the hell's going on. Hell or high water, we got to keep making money. So Disney, of course, has to appease these investors to keep the business going. So they got to let them know that, despite the fact that we took some big losses from the pandemic, we got some stuff going in the pipeline. So they were forced to announce all this shit early, all this Star Wars stuff that's not coming out for years still. Yeah. All this Marvel stuff for years still. All these Disney card animations, whatever, everything. They had to just... all these stuff that they would have never announced at this time, they had to just lay it out there to make sure the investors were satisfied and kept their stocks invested into Disney. That's all it was. So of course they're being pressured into announcing shit that they weren't ready to, even close to being ready to put out, because they had no choice. It's just the nature of 2020. I don't think anyone here was particularly at fault. It's just something that had to happen given the state of the way the world was at the time. As consumers, obviously now we're well, shit, when this is coming out? But realistically, it's just, it's just what they had to do to keep their investors keeping the money in. It may not be very consumer friendly. It definitely wasn't friendly to the producers who didn't want to announce this shit too early. But the investors kept their money in, and I guess that's all it really took.
Bro, there's so much Marvel stuff going on. You know what everybody needs to do? They need to stop. They need to stop and slow down, make quality stuff. Don't feel like you need to oversaturate the market, because that's kind of what turned me off on Marvel stuff. I was like, oh my god, this is too much. I'm low-key over it. But that's just me. I'm sure
Loki over it. Loki season 2 is streaming on Disney Plus now.
I highly regret saying Loki. Oh my god.
Glorious purpose.
We also need to bring back Rogers the Musical.
I don't know what that is.
Put it on Disney Plus, please.
Don't do that.
I don't know what
it's
that
so
is.
great.
Yes.
It was great.
It's
I
literally a
loved it.
Broadway play of Captain America. Don't do that.
I could watch it all day.
It was great.
I can do it all day. Reference.
Another reference that goes right. What is that? I don't.
I could do
Captain
this all day.
America
It
said
says
that's
Captain
it.
America's
Yeah, it's
iconic line.
Oh, when he was fighting himself.
No, that's
And
his,
he
that's
said it
his
a lot of
actual
times.
line.
It's a line. He's used it in many movies.
It's a line.
All right, so this is
Yeah.
where I admit I've never seen a Marvel movie. No, just kidding.
It's okay. It's okay. You watch Rogers the Musical and
Objection!
you will get the
Just a
song.
second ago, you said you're oversaturated. Now you say you've seen nothing. I recommend the book get thrown on him immediately. Apologies to this attorney coming out in January. with a
I
bunch of
thought
games.
that's what that was. I got that one. I got that one.
Cool.
Like this is a video game podcast. I don't know movie shit. I don't know Marvel shit. Like,
That was another reference.
I got that. So, okay, whatever. Anyway, they need to do what Nintendo does, as so does PC the City
Oh
Skylines
my
thing.
God.
Just don't announce it yet, y'all. Just tell the investors, but don't make.
Don't
that
learn from
part
Square.
like,
I am
Just don't learn from Square. Like, please. Don't learn
I'm
from
just-
Square Enix. They announced KH3 so early. They announced Final Fantasy 15 so early. Just don't learn from Square.
How
I'm
is
just
no
so
one
happy-
mentioned Bethesda and Elder Scrolls 6?
Well, because we just.
I
don't,
think that was
like-
another thing that they were pressured to do because of Starfield.
Well,
another thing that-
no.
I disagree.
Yeah,
I think
we
Bethesda was
knew.
just
It
being
was like,
dumb.
Yeah, I feel like it was one of those things.
Oh
that
yeah,
we
no,
knew
they're
they
being
were gonna
dumb.
announce
I'm
it
not
and
doubting that. I'm not doubting that they were being
They
dumb.
weren't pressured. I can tell you right now, they were not pressured.
I think
No, they pressured
They were not
themselves.
They were not,
Like no one was
that doesn't
pressuring
count.
them to
That doesn't
announce.
count.
No one pressured. They were pressuring themselves. Like, oh, well, what if people want to know about Elder Scrolls 6? Bitch, of course you're gonna make Elder Scrolls 6. How much money did you make
Yeah,
from Skyrim?
That's why. I
Like,
don't
no
know.
one's gonna-
Probably would have pressured them to say it anyway. So
But that was before they announced it before they got
that's
bought.
why I
though.
said it. I said
Yeah,
he
yeah,
would have.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. A year. If they didn't announce it that year, it would have been announced the next year because of that. You're right.
But that doesn't count. They make games, and then it takes like a long fucking time to make it. And as soon as the dot comes out, they announce it, and then it still comes out buggy. Like no one bothers.
Yeah.
them
Yeah, but this is
anymore.
trust me, Elder Scrolls fans are still very mad. Like even
Wow,
this
y'all
is
knew what
a
this
long
was.
amount of time.
Yeah,
No, this is long even for us. Like we literally thought it was gonna come within like 5 years, 6
Why would you
years
think
at
that?
least.
It's
Bro,
Bethesda.
Because that's the thing though. That's why because 5
don't
to 6
care
years
about
is
y'all.
usually.
No, they care about
They-
Fallout. They don't care
clearly.
about y'all.
And then, and the other thing too is that it's one thing to announce something and then slowly give images and whatnot. We've literally just gotten the title. We don't even have a title. We just have Elder Scrolls 6 and a bunch of mountains.
You mad?
I'm bringing tea. next time.
Absolutely.
You better go
I
look at the
gotta be
mountains
honest,
again.
No, actually, I'm not even that mad anymore. Like my
See?
main thing, as long as
You
I
don't
get
care.
Zelda every
It's
now and then.
Bethesda. Who
I know,
cares?
I care. No, trust me, I care.
Nah.
I would love to play something that's not Skyrim for the 20th time. I just started another.
No, you wouldn't.
I
you
just
lied!
started playing
I
another
am
playthrough.
so sorry for all the headphone listeners because this episode has just been us yelling so much.
I
Bro,
need to bring
you
tea
know-
next time. Who's out here enjoying popcorn
Would
and I'm
anybody
just
like some popcorn?
this tea is piping hot, but I
just
don't
feel
have
like
I don't have
there
a cup.
are some games that are just gonna take forever. Like
Yeah, but what it's been.
yeah, but y'all know that. Like it's like that's why I don't count Bethesda games because I feel
know.
like they're gonna take a
With
million.
the way they
years.
pump out some of those really weird games in between, I froze. I'm not frozen anymore. Okay, sorry.
Dro, honestly, you made the best argument because we got Super Mario Brothers Wonder announced 4 months ago, and
Exactly,
it's out
now
and it's
you
getting
got
rave
it.
reviews.
Mhm,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. It's just everybody.
That's great. That's great.
And I don't know. I don't remember. You guys have to remind me about when Kingdom Hearts was announced, but I don't feel like it was that long. Kingdom Hearts 3? It had to be like a
3?
year. Wasn't it like
Bro,
a
that was
year?
That was 2013. It came out in 2019. That was 6 years.
No way.
You know why?
For real.
You're right. You know why I forgot about that? It's because they didn't talk about it at all until it was like a year out from launch, and then they started showing the worlds and stuff, and then it was like
Yes.
the lead up. That's why I completely forgot that the announcement was
Yeah.
so long ago. I just do that.
It was
you know?
it was a dry season of years, and then arguably oversaturation of news closer to launch.
was like,
we knew every world.
Y'all want to talk shit about us not showing anything? We're showing you fucking everything now. This is what you
Oh
get.
man, Kingdom Hearts 4 is gonna be the same when they're ready to talk about that. I have zero doubt.
Do you know, like, okay, last thing I'm gonna say, and I can't even say it for real, but that Final Fantasy 16 trailer that spoiled a very major character situation. Why do they do things like that? Do you know what I'm talking
Square Enix
about?
always does that.
Because it's
Do you guys
Square.
know what I'm talking about?
Their final trailer is always this. I never watched the final trailer of a game because they do be just showing you just the main plot. Never watched the final trailer of a Square Enix game.
With a very big spoiler for a character's fate, and I was like,
yes,
really?
Yes.
And yeah, it actually happened. And I was like, all right, well, there's that. Do you know there's no in
I played the
Because
game
it's
for
Square
nothing.
Enix.
yeah, it's like movie trailers now. No, you gotta watch it. Just watch the trailer like 3 times. You see the movie.
It depends on the movie. Like depending on, like, if they have to really market a movie, they'll just spoil that whole shit. If they don't think they need to market the movie, they won't tell you anything. Like the Star Wars trailers, it's Star Wars. Everyone's gonna go watch that, so they didn't tell you anything in those Star Wars trailers. But you go to like untested, untrained, a new IP movie, you'll get the whole movie in that whole trailer. That's just how it is. They tell you how much they think you need to know.
It's time for us to go.
It is time to go.
We're gonna have a nice little question next week. I didn't get to it this week.
Yes, that's fine. Don't do it next. Don't do it this week. It's been long enough.
Yeah, we ran out of time. Wonderful chatting with you guys about video games and nerdy stuff as usual. Thank you.
This is a fun one.
Was it? There's a lot of yelling.
Yeah, let's make it fun. I love it. I just need to
Have
break some tea next
popcorn,
time.
viewers, please.
Remember, you can always read the
Eat the
menu of the
popcorn.
game, and it'll tell you what you need to know.
Unless it doesn't come bundled with your game.
Doesn't need to come bundled with your game. Read the screen; it tells you everything you need to know.
Or just be intuitive and not be stupid. And with that, goodbye, everybody.
Did you just insult yourself?
No, I was talking about not having any. No, because now I have to clarify that I did not insult myself. I was talking about not having an intuitive menu with intuitive controls that match what the fuck is going on. If it was just easy and intuitive, it wouldn't have been a fucking issue. Now, good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bye.
Bye bye. Brandon, please stop.